What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the show. Big Dog Brett, thanks so much for tuning in. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, share, send it to your mom and them. All right, so I guess let's jump into it. Man, that countdown is actually built into the StreamYard, sir. It's nothing of my doing. Man, there is a lot to go over tonight. Lots of new developments. First and foremost, as you guys know, the bet says, evening, I'm just here to see if Carl makes a cameo appearance. He might. So looking at what's been going on here recently, guys, a ton of stuff's popped up. Obviously, Will Muschamp's no longer at USC junior. Apparently, a 2-5 record was not good enough to hold on to that coveted head coaching job at South Carolina. Doggone it. He was so close. As you guys know, he had a terrible record there. Muschamp is a really good coach, just not good enough to maintain that job as a head coach. Probably better fitted for a defensive-minded role at another college. He may step back down. I don't see him taking a head coaching job. His buyout was rather absorbent, somewhere in the neighborhood of $10 million. Yeah. Wish I could get $10 million to get fired. I'd get fired tomorrow morning. So, all right. So let's see what we got here. Let's go ahead and jump in the chat section. First shout out goes to Dwayne RTR, one of our resident members. Been a member of the channel pretty much since it was available right out of the gate. He says, "What's up, Brett?" in chat. Kirby did it to Kate. I don't know what he did to Kate, but if you're saying that he did it too late, maybe so. Maybe he did something too late to Kate. I'm not sure. So, Fusion X, what's going on, buddy? Welcome back to the channel. Big Dog Brett, I see you over in the channel, sir. Thank you for being here as well. Mike Taylor. Sure, we've got some other people here. Atypical Gump, how you doing, sir? Miguel says, "How ab them Gators?" I'll tell you what, man, Kyle Trask is a heck of a talent, man. That kid's impressive. For those of you who don't know, who haven't had a chance to look up his stats, he is certainly a Heisman Trophy candidate. This guy has some for real talent. I mean, just think of how good his numbers could be if he was on a really good football team. I'm just saying. So, Muschamp will get the DC gig at a big-time program. I was actually thinking that it might be interesting to see if he ends up becoming like a defensive coordinator at a Michigan, because Michigan could really use a defensive coordinator. Ole Miss would have a stellar program if they had some defense. Florida would be an even better football team if he had some defense. And if I'm not mistaken, didn't he used to coach at Florida? Didn't he used to coach at Florida? After all that good, you had to say that. Hey, man, I got to do it, man. I can't hug him too much, man. Kyle Trask, his numbers in comparison to where some of the other Heisman Trophy candidates were, he's ahead of them in almost every category. So if he doesn't win the Heisman, I would be thoroughly surprised, given the fact that Justin Fields is probably not going to play a full season, so his numbers are not going to be anywhere near comparable. Given the fact that Trevor Lawrence is now down 2 games, he's not going to have those same kind of numbers. So Mac Jones is probably his only competition, because you're talking about, being in I think a big part of your numbers has to be, what is your strength of schedule? I think that plays into it. Playing an all SEC schedule is definitely a benefit for Kyle Trask and Mac Jones. So let's see. Dwayne RTR says, as long as Muschamp stays away from Tuscaloosa, I'm good. We're going to send him right over. We're buying a ticket for him to go from South Carolina over to Alabama. He can stay there. Tim Ferriss says he thinks that Muschamp Hold on, I lost. Tim Ferriss says, I think South Carolina may take a run at Freeze. There's a lot of talk. There's a lot of talk about who will fill that role. Obviously, Liberty at Hugh Freeze. Billy Napier is another one. Tony Ellett, the offensive coordinator at Clemson, is another one. Hey, what's going on, Sarah? Why is Sarah not a mod? Is Sarah a mod or is it just me? Hold on. She better be a mod. Could have swore, dude. What is going on with this thing here? Trying to get caught up. Stand by. Okay, I was fixing to say on my screen for a second there, it didn't show her as a mod. I was fixing to correct that immediately. Jackson Bates, you just kind of have to be around a while. I have to get to know you, see how you deal with other people in the channel. What's going on, Crimson Brave? You must have got timed out over on BVD's channel. You come over here to mine because I'll let you talk. Got to like and run watch back soon. I don't know what that means, Alex, but I appreciate it, sir. The bet says, hold on, what did he say? Sorry, guys, falling behind here. Heard about what's going on at LSU. Sounds like Baylor 2016 all over again. I don't know what's going on at LSU, sir. You might have to break it down for me. Husker Gray says, I told you my Huskers could beat Penn State. Penn State's just terrible, man. I don't know what's going on, man. No, you're fine. You're fine, Jackson. You don't know unless you ask, man. You don't know unless you ask. I'm a little friendlier than some channels. Actually, I try to talk to everybody I can. I mean, eventually it's going to get to a point where I can't do that. Thank you for everybody that's in the stream tonight. I know there's some of you guys that don't type in the chat section, and that's fine. I want to make sure that I tell you guys I really appreciate you being here, even though you may not contribute into the chat. That's fine. Glad to have you here anyway. You looking at what I said about JT and the insurance thing. I have not, Miguel. I have been super busy. I apologize, sir. Elite GB says, so what I took from Kirby's conference today was that Stetson is still running for the QB once he's healthy. How can he even be considered at this point? Crazy. I don't know if that's 100% factual either, Miguel. I have to dig into it, but that doesn't make sense. Hard to get an insurance policy on a player who hasn't had enough game experience to say what his real value would be. So yeah, I don't. Right now, JT Daniels is going to want to light up the scoreboard because that's his resume for getting into the NFL. He needs to do that. Jackson Bates says, Brett, personally for QB, I want DeJuan or JT. I can tell you after watching DeJuan play in a couple of different games, what's going on with Trenches? Watching in a couple of different games, I don't really feel like DeJuan is quite ready yet. I feel like DeJuan needs to be that backup guy for a while. I want to see what JT can do. I'm not willing to throw all my eggs in one basket for any quarterback at UGA right now, and that includes Carson Beck too, until I can see what these guys can actually do. So it's going to be a little while before I make a decision as to who is my go-to guy. Bennett started out looking really good, and then he got exposed, man, and then it was just over from there. Brock the fifth will be that's sarcasm. Brock the fifth will be the starting QB next year. I highly doubt it, Rob. I highly doubt it. Jackson, what's wrong with Bennett? I believe he injured his collarbone or his shoulder or something. He's having some trouble throwing. Separated shoulder apparently. So who knows? Y'all need to hire Urban Meyer. No, not at all. Don't want to hire Urban Meyer. Urban Meyer couldn't get it done in the big whatever number he was in. Don't feel like he's going to be able to get it done in the SEC. I'm much more willing to rely on Todd Monken and maybe bring in an assistant to help him out. See what happens. Kirby will have to make a bench bigger for Brock. That's a possibility. My friend says Ian Book is better than Trask. He's out of his mind. Go pull the numbers on them. Look at the teams they've played. They've played better opponents overall, and his numbers are still consistent. Even when they have pulled his favorite receiver out of a game, he still did just fine. I mean, like he didn't. There was no drop off. So, Rob F says he definitely will be. Who will beat him out? Not the crew who couldn't beat out the walk on. Brock will start. First of all, you're assuming that the walk on was not giving some kind of weird preferential treatment because of his level of experience. If JT Daniels goes out there and does as good as Stetson Bennett, he's going to stay in that role, and they're probably going to have Brock learn the playbook, learn how to play at that speed, at that level before they just throw him into the game. You're not going to take an 18 or 19-year-old kid and just throw him out there into the mix and just be like, here you go. Brock is incredible. Don't get me wrong, but there's a big step from high school to college, and then it's another really big step from college to pro. There's not just the gap there. Look at it this way. It really kind of works like this, right? You have high school, JUCO, college, NFL. So I mean, it's quite a gap. What's going on, Keith? Welcome back to the channel, sir. Glad to see you made it back home safe and sound and whatnot. Go ahead and throw this in the chat here. I'm lazy about doing it. Brock is really good. I mean, the guy was like, I guess they call it the clean and jerk or whatever, but dude was doing like, I don't know, like almost 300 pounds or some crazy stuff, man. Miguel, Brock is a fine kid. Fine QB just needs to be developed. That is correct. Book is better than Trask. Look at the records of the teams. Look at the records of the teams. Let's get it. You're going to have to break it down for me a little better than that, sir, because I'm not comparing the teams. I'm comparing the quarterbacks. All right, BDB was gonna step in and say, what's up? Ships out in 8 days. Keep doing your thing, man. Yeah, you keep doing your thing, man. We appreciate you being out there, man. Hats off to you. Much respect. Thank you for your service and your contribution and your sacrifice for our country, sir. Because you're going to give up a lot of time. You're going to give up the ability to be around your family and holidays. You're going to give up a lot of individual freedoms that a lot of us civilians enjoy on a daily basis. So really appreciate you, sir. Caden Smith says, BDB, have you heard anything about DeJuan Mathis being tried at receiver last week? Not a thing, sir. Not a thing. Tim Ferriss says, Brett, what's the odds of Waddle making it back for the college football playoff? Because word is he's really ahead of schedule, especially with word coming from team doctors. Didn't he break his ankle? Break his leg, break his ankle. What was it? Broken ankle. That ain't no small injury, man. Let's see here. Let's see. On October 25th, there was a post on 24/7 Sports that says he's making strong progression. But you're talking major, significant injury. You're more likely than not. Let's get it. It says y'all crazy if you think Trask is better than Book. Book is a dual threat. All right, I guess we're gonna do this. Let me pull it up so we can actually break it down real quick. All right, I'm looking at stats for both Ian Book and Kyle Trask. 2020 season stats. Okay. Let me go and break it down for you. Let me go back to this screen. I'm going to share screen, and then I'm going to do this screen. No, this one. Yes, this one. And then I'm going to do this. Okay. So let's take a look here at overall yards, touchdown passes, interceptions, and QBR ratings. According to this, actually, let me see if I can do this. Can I do this? Can I do that? Oh, yeah, that's crazy. I like it. Let's do it. It's insane. Giving you guys seizures with this stuff. Okay. 2171 total yards in the 2020 season stat. Ian Book, 1,800. So that's a 300-yard deficit right there. That's an entire football game short of passing. 28 touchdowns to get that out of here, lady. 28 touchdowns to 11 touchdowns. There is clearly, this is a razor-thin close margin. It's 28 to 11. I demand a recount, sir. 1 interception to 3 interceptions. Okay, Ian Book doesn't throw many interceptions. Check. QBR 84.1.
Notre Dame is going to win this football game. All right.
All right, let's get rid of you, sir. You're no longer need to be talking on my screen. 84 to 93. I'm clearly missing something here. Help me out. Oh, yeah, and Ian Book has played in 2 more games. So imagine what Kyle Trask's number will be once he plays in 2 more games. By the way, he set an SEC record for the most touchdowns, like 6 games into the season or whatever it is. And he also set another record of was it like 5 or more touchdowns in like 5 or 6 games in a row or something crazy like that? Did you just really say that Book had a harder strength of schedule? Here we go. Okay. Let's go Google.com. Let me go hit the Google. And let's do 2020 Notre Dame schedule. Let's check it out. Okay. Now let's go Google. I can still type Google. I got all this stuff in the way. Man, I cannot type today. Florida Gators 2020 schedule. Okay. We're going to look at the 2020 through the FBS, and I guess we'll just have to pull it on this one right here, whatever. Okay. Duke, first game of the season. Duke Blue Devils. That's a really tough team. Oh, this is a Florida page, so it's going to load slow. Ole Miss. Ole Miss nearly beat Alabama. Advantage. Ole Miss. USF Bulls. South Carolina. Tie. Florida State Seminoles. Texas A&M. Advantage. Texas A&M. Louisville Cardinals versus LSU. Advantage. Notre Dame. Pitt versus Missouri. Postponed. Then played, I guess. It was this last year. Oh, yeah, played it next week. Sorry. Missouri, I'd say that's a tie. Georgia versus Georgia Tech. Advantage. Florida. Clemson Tigers versus, they haven't played any more than that. So you would say Clemson Tigers would be the best team they've played. Boston College, not that good of a team either. I would say Florida has played a harder schedule to date. There's only one team on that schedule that's hard, and that was Clemson. There's only maybe two teams so far that they have played that's been hard, which is Georgia and A&M. And Trask is putting up video game numbers on an SEC schedule. See, now we're nitpicking individual games. We're talking about the overall subject matter, sir. After Florida plays 2 more games, he will eclipse most likely 32 or 3,300 yards. If he has a couple of good games, he could hit 3,600 yards, which is more than what they have now. But he won't hit 3,600. I'm just saying. Trask threw for 4 touchdowns in that loss. Exactly. He went 23 for 32 and 312 yards against A&M, and they lost that game. That was not – he didn't lose that game. The defense lost that game. Florida, but Notre Dame has looked very impressive. I'm not saying Notre Dame doesn't have a good team. They do. But if you told me right now that I had to pick a quarterback to come play for Georgia, I am not picking Ian Book over Kyle Trask. I don't know any school that would pick Ian Book over Kyle Trask. Once Trask plays the defense, then we'll talk. You do realize that he could sit out an entire game. He could hand it off every down for an entire football game, and his stats would still be higher than Ian Book's. Who have I got winning it all? Right now, I would say it is a toss-up between. If I had to put 4 teams in right now, I would put I would put Florida, Alabama, Clemson, and Notre Dame. That's who I would put in right now. Who do I think would be doing better with Ian Book this year? Any team that's not named Florida, Clemson, or Alabama. What's going on, Michael Porter? Appreciate you guys being members and subscribing to the channel and helping support the channel. That really does help, guys. We really appreciate you guys being in here. Okay, so Crimson 38 says Roll Tide. All right, let me get rid of the stop sharing my screen because that's probably getting irritating. So I'm going to add Keith in.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Are you there, sir?
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Give it a minute because I've had some issues with this thing. I've updated some drivers, and it takes a minute now, apparently. Then there's also an issue with YouTube. I'm not sure. Just stand by. It'll get there in a minute. You've got your mic muted, just so you know.
Yeah.
What's going on, David Johnson? Notre Dame's a joke. This character thinks Ian Book is something. My God, what a potato. Michael Porter said thumbs up, everybody. Yeah, just give it a minute, Keith. It'll load in eventually.
Hey, sir.
Hey, there is nothing wrong. There is nothing wrong with this man cheering for his team, cheering for his quarterback. I got no problem with that, man. Because some of you guys support y'all's team when y'all ain't doing so hot either. You Bama fans don't know what that's about. So, yeah.
No, can you hear me yet, Brett?
Itchy nose, man. See if this will fix it. I don't know. Ian Books or Bo Nix? Ian Book. Fields and Mac Jones are the only quarterbacks better than Book. I take Ellinger over Trask. Y'all will see Trask true colors versus Alabama. You know what? You're right. And his true colors may be that he is a Heisman Trophy candidate. Because here's the thing. Even though the schedules maybe, let's just say the schedules are similar. Let's just say that. He is still setting records in the SEC. Dude, sorry. Trask has a loaded wide receiver core. Most great quarterbacks do. You still got to put it in position for him. Bama has a worse defense than UGA, and I'm a Bama fan. I don't know about that, man. See if it's working now, Keith. You're muted, though. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine, man.
Okay. I got you now.
Can you hear me? All right.
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, cool. I'm going to try to pop my camera on and see what happens.
Oh, it's going to crash. Go ahead.
You want me to stay off?
No. Bring it on. It just takes a minute to load up.
How we doing?
Can you hear me?
Yep. I can hear you fine.
Can you hear me now? Yeah, it's loading. Just stand by. Yeah, we had this problem the other night, man. I don't know what it is. Like, I even went in today and reloaded the graphics drivers. I assumed it was a graphic driver problem because everybody else will say they can see you and they can hear you, but I can't. So just give it a minute. It'll load up, I'm sure. Might be my wonderful internet. Let me guess. Next week after he plays Vanderbilt, he'll be the best quarterback in college football. Y'all have to look at the defenses he's playing. Regardless of the defenses he's playing, regardless of the defenses that Notre Dame is playing, because you're never going to convince anybody in this comment section that the ACC is a tougher schedule overall than the SEC. Quarterbacks were not doing this, what he's doing, even when they would play one or two SEC teams, and then we would play like three teams from the Sun Belt, which we blow them out of the water. Nobody was doing that even then. And Notre Dame couldn't do it picking their own schedule. So let's get it. There's no defense in any conference. That seems to be true this year. Was Clemson fully healthy? What's the word as a TCU fan? That's all I have to. That's the word. What's he saying? Trask is the best QB in the SEC, constantly throwing guys open, and the way he manipulates with his eyes. He's very good. Your mic is muted, Keith, so I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Getting the spinning wheel of death here. Hold on. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
I don't know. It'll just give it a minute or two there to load up without the camera on. I don't know what in the world it's doing. Okay. Now I've got your emblem, which normally means somebody can talk. Okay. I don't know. It must be a loading feed with the internet or something. I don't know. Maybe I need to do an internet check or reset my internet. I'm not sure. But I'm not doing it right now.
You can hear me though?
Oh, I can hear you clear as a bell.
All right, cool.
I got to go over here and turn down this a little bit. There we go. Hey, Georgia's defense healthy when y'all play them? No, it was not. Trask hasn't played a good defense. You may be right, sir, but so far, every team he's played so far, regardless of healthy or not healthy, he has looked outstanding. Even in the game that they lost in, he looked outstanding. So you can't say the defense was the problem because they lost the game. He still looked really good. So anyway, all right. I'm gonna close out that. Yeah, you got anything to add to that, Keith? You're muted again.
Yeah, sorry. I was talking to me. He was trying to get on the camera to say hey to you.
Hey, sorry, buddy. It'll probably crash, my man.
Oh,
Yeah,
So sorry, I missed what you were saying there.
Oh, that's all good. So what's your thoughts when we close out the subject on Ian Book, Kyle Trask here? I think Kyle Trask, if he continues going like he's going, is clearly a Heisman winner, and looks like he's even eclipsing Tim Tebow. So
Yeah, I mean, these guys. I mean, I don't know. This is kind of like this is kind of like spinning the wheels, like comparing the Kobe and LeBron argument. I mean, any team would be lucky to have either one of these guys on their team. So I mean, I don't know. I think Trask. If I had to pick who would start for my team, I think it would be Trask, just from what he's putting up this year. It just seems a lot like what we've seen with the Joe Burrows last year.
Yep.
Ian Book is a proven talent. I mean, he's been great at Notre Dame, and that was a great win for them against Clemson the other night. But if I'm picking on the schoolyard, I'm picking Trask.
Oh yeah. He says, okay, when Notre Dame wins the championship and Florida's 9-3, talk to me. You can win a national championship, sir, without having the better quarterback. I promise you that. He says absolutely disrespectful to compare Trask to Burrows.
No, I'm not comparing them. Don't get me wrong. I'm not comparing their talent to Burrows. I'm just saying it's a similar story where you have a guy that has kind of struggled to get on the field and then finally lights it up when he does have a chance.
Yes.
I'm definitely not saying that Trask is on the level of Burrow. However, the dude's putting up great numbers. So,
well, he's putting up, and to my kind of back to what I was saying, he's putting up incredible numbers playing no cupcakes.
Yeah, I mean, Burrows didn't play an all SEC schedule.
Yeah, so I mean, if you were to throw 3 or 4 more cupcake Sun Belt teams or Mountain East teams or whatever you want to call them, I'm sure his numbers would look phenomenal.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Imagine if Trask had some cupcake teams in there to pad his numbers. I mean, this dude's got incredible numbers against pretty decent. Well,
I mean, this is an opportunity for Notre Dame to kind of shut down the talk of, they need to join a conference and all this other stuff. So, it's an opportunity for them to do something really exciting. I'm happy that they get an opportunity. But
let's be honest. Trask has got
Arkansas. He just said Arkansas not a cupcake, sir. That just shows how much that you haven't really looked up about Arkansas. They have been punching people in the mouth. They got basically robbed in 2 games. So, but that's just my opinion.
I mean, you could say that Arkansas may be a cupcake when you look at it through the prism of the schedule that they played this year, but they're not a cupcake when you compare them to like Austin Peavy or something like that,
Right, Austin Peay
or the Citadel or some of these places, that we normally play 2 times a year.
It's like we throw a dart at the map and we pick out the middle school team and we go play them. That's a cupcake.
Yeah. And let's be honest. I mean, Trask has got Vanderbilt, Kentucky, Tennessee, and LSU left. He's going to go off in all 4 of those games.
Yep. Because I mean, there's nobody left. There's nobody left that was going to beat them. Not even get close. So Arkansas at 5-2, get it right. Arkansas surprised everybody this year. So now I want to talk about the since we're on quarterbacks, let's talk about what Ben Cleveland said. Did you get an opportunity to listen to that?
I have not, no.
So Ben Cleveland, in an interview earlier today, made some pretty interesting comments, and I think it's possible that people are reading more into it than well, y'all giving Let's Get It too much attention, man. That guy's clearly trolling y'all, man. Clearly trolling y'all. Yeah. You're gonna mess around, and one of these mods is gonna put you in timeout, man. So I'm gonna pull it up real quick and I'm gonna read it for you. See if I can find it. When asked about the transition at the quarterback position, Cleveland said the following. It was, not it is, or it could be. He said it was a very smooth transition. JT has spent a lot of time working on himself. He's been running 90% of the scout team offense. He's been really focusing on learning the playbook, getting himself healthy, and preparing himself for this moment. I will say that about all our quarterbacks. They've all been prepared when their number was called, and I don't expect this to be any different. That seems to be the kind of language that somebody would use if they believe that this guy's going to be the starter. Now, you could say I'm reading too much into it, but
yeah. Well, the consensus that I listen to the radio up here a lot, and they talk to a lot of insiders, and I mean, I'm not going to believe who the quarterback is until we see him trot out there on Saturday. But for everything that I've read and everything that I've listened to, JT Daniels is going to be starting this game coming up. And he's going to be the starter the rest of the year unless something happens. Because at this point, at this point, we got to prepare to have a strong rest of the season and have a strong bowl game because we still have to have some pride for recruits, we have to get the offense going. We got to show what it can do so that we can get some offensive recruits in here. It's been great, being able to sign all these defensive guys, but if we can't start showing some improvement on offense, we're not going to be getting the Pickens and the Burdens and those guys anymore. Not that we've had them in the past anyways, it's kind of a 1-year thing. So we got to put up some numbers, and it kind of stinks the way that it's all rolled out, in my opinion, because if JT does go out there and ball out on Saturday and have a great game, I'm going to enjoy it as a dog fan, but I'm going to be so mad that that's what we had sitting there and we trotted out a 5'9" walk on and put our season up,
and I keep having to remind myself of this, and we didn't have that at the beginning of the season. We really didn't.
No, we didn't.
Daniels wasn't ready. I really feel like Newman screwed us, and the longer the season goes, the more I feel that way. Now, Newman may have came in and been just as bad as anybody else. I'm not saying that. Clearly, DeJuan Mathis was not ready. And I really think that for the most of the season there, so far, that Carson Beck had not learned the playbook. And you can't expect a true freshman to learn a playbook that quickly. You can't expect and you might as well say that DeJuan Mathis was a true freshman because he hasn't had enough playing experience. So that leaves you with DeJuan Mathis, who hasn't been hit in 2 years, not even in practice. Stetson Bennett as a backup, which they didn't have enough faith in him right out of the gate, so that's why they went with Mathis, and that was such a firework in the face that they had to switch to somebody, and the only guy on the bench they could even hand the ball to that knew what the plays was Bennett. So Bennett come out there and played above his level for a few games, and that gave a bunch of Georgia fans a false sense of accomplishment and, delusions of grandeur, myself included. And then you get out there and they're like, okay, what in the heck just happened? And at that time we had to switch over and go with DeJuan again. And that didn't work any better than it did the first time. And so now finally it seems like JT is ready to play, whether he's ready to play because he was injured or is he ready to play now because he's actually ready? We'll never know, but
yeah, well, my problem.
It's fair to say that the quarterback situation has been abysmal.
Yeah, and see, the thing that the optics are what's terrible on this, right? So, if you want to say, if you even go back to before this past weekend's game with Missouri was canceled, there was already the buzz on the street that JT was going to start this game.
Yes.
So I don't think anything has changed going into this next week. So if we kind of roll back the clock to right after the Florida game or a few days after the Florida game, you start hearing all this rumblings that JT's going to start, that he's getting all these reps with the ones, and that we're kind of moving on from Bennett. We're either going to live and die by DeJuan Mathis, but it looks like JT is going to finally get get a start. You know, I think the story was that Carson and JT were running with the ones. So if you want, I guess the way I look at it is, so we go from having a game where JT is so hurt or not ready that we can't even put him in the second half of a game that we've clearly lost to get him some reps. But the very next week, we're okay with making him the starter. I mean, I just, if the reason he hasn't played is because of a health issue, I'm not buying that narrative, because you wouldn't not play him at all in a game where you could have got him reps and then immediately have him start the very next week if it was a health issue.
Well, I agree with that, but let me throw something out there as far as an idea goes. What if Daniels may have been physically capable, but had not been getting enough time with the ones to make him comfortable, because Kirby had been trying to give as many reps to Bennett as possible with the ones to hopefully, lean on the defense.
Exactly. I agree with exactly what you're saying, and that's all the more reason to put him in the Florida game at the end of it.
Oh,
you know what I mean? That's all the more reason to put him in there, is to give him some game time reps. If you're going to move ahead, to me it seems like, and I go with I go with Occam's razor here. It seems to me that Kirby had some type of loyalty to Fromm, and that's why we didn't see Fields. Kirby has thrown loyalty behind Bennett, and that's why we haven't seen these other guys. And
I think that
now Kirby is finally just saying, to hell with it. Let's throw JT in there and see what's going to happen. Because he is the future of the quarterback position, at least for next year, unless Brock comes in there and balls out and starts as a true freshman. But I think the plan is to have JT start next year and run the offense next year. I think that was the plan all along. And so, it just seems to me that Kirby just finally said, to hell with it. I'm going to finally give the fans what they want. I'm going to put JT in there, and we're going to play this season out and see what we can do. And so
I think you're right, but I also think that Kirby Smart has painted himself into one hell of a corner, because
if he goes out there and balls out, he's going to like an idiot.
That is right. And he's going to go out there. He's going to look like the next Joe Burrow. Let's just say he goes out there and looks like the next Joe Burrow. And you're like, why in the hell weren't we playing this guy? If he goes out there and flops, it's even worse, because it's like, are you kidding me? We don't have a single guy on our team that can throw as good as the Felipe Franks at Arkansas. Really?
Baron, I completely agree with you. It's, if you see yourself like if I'm Brock Vandagriff, right? And all the people in his corner, I'm looking at this stuff. I mean, this is my team. I love the Dogs. I live and die, red and black. But honestly, we have not been able to develop a quarterback in the last, I don't know, since Aaron Murray stepped off the field, I guess. I mean,
fair enough. Let me ask you a question.
It's scary. It's really scary. And I just don't know if I'm the talent that Vandagriff is, that I would, until I've seen some improvement. I don't know. It's you're taking a leap of faith. I agree.
So here's the question. So we have to be analytical about this. How long do you think it takes to develop a quarterback? What is a good window to develop a quarterback?
Well, at a college level, you would expect that within a year of sitting, that they would have the playbook, have the program, and know all this stuff. But in the day that we are in right now, these 5-stars that are coming out of high school are looking to play day one. It's it's almost special if you find one that'll sit a year for you. I mean, that's exactly what happened to Fields, in my opinion. I mean, Fields is one of those talents that wasn't looking to sit; he was looking to play, and he found somewhere where he could play immediately.
Oh yeah.
But just look at what's happened with Georgia. I mean, Eason comes in, 5-star, recruited, gone. From 5-star, comes over, takes the position from him. Next year, 5-star Fields comes in, gone. So it's like, and then the 5-star that we did keep over those guys, not to mention that, Trevor Lawrence was leaning Georgia's way part of his recruitment and chose to go to Clemson. And out of all of those guys, we end up with Fromm.
Well, you left one out.
Easton was a drafted NFL quarterback. He went in the first round, if I don't believe.
Mm-hmm. But you left out one.
Who else am I forgetting?
JT Daniels originally committed to Georgia and then went to USC.
So I mean, at some point we got to get these guys into the program. We got to keep them. We got to put them on the field, and they got to light up the the stats. I mean, if everybody else can do it, why can't Georgia? You know what I'm saying?
Well, this is my opinion on that. I think we made some critical mistakes with the quarterback situation whenever obviously the whole Justin Fields debacle happened. Whether that was because Kirby Smart was was playing favorites or had some sense of loyalty or whatever you want to call it, so be it. But at that time we had Jim Chaney. Jim Chaney is not an air raid offense. He's not a guy that knows how to develop a quarterback. He's a run the ball guy. And that's what we did. And it was the run game that would allow the pass game to open up. Well, then Jake Fromm loses his core receivers that were astronomically good, and his benefit drops down, right? I mean, his performance drops down. There's less benefit for Jake Fromm at this point. Then the next season, Jim Chaney's gone. Now we've got James Coley. Jake Fromm's ability takes another step down because James Coley didn't know how to develop Jake Fromm or any of the other quarterbacks sitting on the bench. So UGA brings in Todd Monken, and Todd Monken literally has a mess to deal with. He's basically told, we don't really have an offensive identity. We really don't have any developed quarterbacks. We have 2 grad transfers coming in. We have a grad transfer coming in, and then we have another transfer coming in. We've got a backup that knows the playbook, and then we got a true freshman. Todd Monken has to be face palming himself every day for what he's walked into.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong. I mean, as far as our offense, this is going to sound really weird. Our offense has been doing fine. If you go back and look at the tape, we've got wide receivers wide open running all over the field. We just don't have anybody to get the ball to them. I mean, you go back and look. I mean, how many times, if you just look back at the Florida game, how many times did Bennett just miss a wide open receiver that would have ran in for a touchdown? Just overthrew him. They were wide open. Receiver beat him. If you think back to I think it was the Alabama game, there was a touchdown pass where he could have threw to James Cook over in the flat. There wasn't nobody within 20 yards of that dude. He ran into the end zone. And Stetson just doesn't see him. He just doesn't pick him up, or if he does, he overthrows him. And
the big problem that we have, and Kirby Smart pointed this out, and yes, I still support Kirby. Kirby Smart pointed this out. He said, we go back, we look at the tape. We show them. The guy's open. The play worked. You missed him. And I think that is a big, big factor that goes into the game. If you watch the game and you're not just a casual fan and you actually watch the quarterback and you look at where the receivers end up at, you look at where the holes in the coverage are, you can see what colossal mistakes Bennett makes.
Yes, very easily.
You can see the same thing out of DeJuan Mathis. And to Sarah's point, if Bama can put true freshman QBs on the field, other teams should figure out how to develop young QBs also. I completely agree. But what I will say is that you really have to have that football IQ. Maybe Bennett couldn't see him because he's so short. I don't know. Maybe DeJuan Mathis couldn't get it done because he's too nervous. He hasn't settled down yet. And I don't know if he's going to be able to settle down. I don't know. But what I will tell you is that in the foreseeable future, 2 things have to happen. You have to have a quarterback that can hit guys that are open. We're not even talking about 50-50 balls or making a play with your arm. We're talking about hitting what you're given.
Yeah.
Taking what is readily available. It's very rare. It's very rare on a pass play where you've got 3 guys going out routes that somebody's not open. It's extremely rare. That's why there's always almost always a check down guy. You'll have one guy running a go route, one guy running a post where there's a skinny post or a slant route. And you'll have one guy who's usually hanging out as a check down guy. And then there's a running back picking up a block, right? Usually somebody's open. And the problem is that Stetson Bennett, he already has in his mind 99% of the time where he's going to throw that ball before it snaps. Jake Fromm had the same problem. Yeah. When you look at guys like Kyle Trask, when you look at guys like not Baker Mayfield, what was the other bozo from Oklahoma? Golly, his name's on the tip of my tongue. Heisman Trophy winner. What was his name?
You talking about the kid that started to play baseball? What was his name?
No. I think he went to the Browns for like one season and then.
Oh, you talking about the
is it Kyle?
I can't remember.
Anyway, that guy was one of those guys where he would drop back, the offensive line would just fall down on the ground for whatever reason. The whole defensive line would be pursuing this guy, and he would somehow make a pass. Joe Burrow had that same thing.
Yeah.
The ability to make plays on the fly.
Well,
Bennett doesn't have that. Mathis doesn't have that.
You see basically there's basically like three tiers of college quarterbacks. And Bennett probably represents that tier one where, like you said, he pretty much knows where he's going to throw, and he mostly can hit the open guy as long as the guy that he's looking for gets open. Then you have the tier two, what I refer to as the tier two quarterbacks, which is what Fromm is, which those are the guys that can make really tough throws to the guy that's probably going to be open. And he can hit most of the guys that are open. That's why you see Fromm through that. Fromm was great at throwing across the field, those long passes hitting the back shoulders. Those are tough throws. But some of the other throws he couldn't make, And then you have then you have like what you're seeing with Kyle Trask, what you saw with Burrows, what you see with Trevor Lawrence. Those are the guys that can throw a receiver open. You know what I'm saying? They're going to throw it to a place where they know their receiver's going to go. They're going to leave their receiver into open, and that's what I refer to as a tier three quarterback. And
I think there's even a tier four. I think that the tier three guys are the guys that can be consistent. I would say Ian Book is a tier three, right? He can make the pass. He can take what's open, but he can also make passes that most guys can't make, and then he can choose to pick up, the easy first down with his feet. I think he has all of those abilities. But then you got guys like Joe Burrows that no matter what you do, no matter what you put in front of him, he's going to make a play. He's going to throw that ball in such a tight window that it is indefensible. I don't think Ian Book quite has that. I think Kyle Trask does.
Yeah. It's just that to me was the difference with Fromm and what you see with Bennett. I mean, Bennett, if he sees the guy, he's got about a 60-70% chance of hitting him, but a lot of times he's going to overthrow him. And you see some of these guys. Well, you saw what Trask did against us. The open guy, he hit him.
Oh yeah, every time. Just
about every time for big plays, and it was frustrating.
To me, I've been watching a lot of tape on JT Daniels, which there's not a lot of tape to watch, and I am super critical at this point of any quarterback coming to UGA, like super critical. He does things that I haven't seen a quarterback do at UGA in a long time. And so to me, I really think that when you've got a guy that has the ability to look downfield, lock down a corner just by where he's staring, and then change and look to where he wants to throw the ball, and then can make a 50-50 ball really about a 70-30 ball, that's the kind of quarterback I'm looking for. Kyle Murray. No, I don't think it was that guy. It was another guy. Let me see if I can find it. That's going to drive me crazy. It may be Kyler Murray, but I don't think it is. It is no. It was the one before Baker Mayfield. What was that guy's name? Is it Kyler Murray? Maybe it is. If I see a picture of him. No, definitely not him. It was a different guy. It was a crybaby. He may not have been from Oklahoma. Just another
Are you talking about Johnny Manziel? Maybe
Johnny Manziel. That's
yeah,
him.
Texas A&M. Yeah,
yeah. As soon as you said the name, it all fell into place, man. Good
yeah.
night.
You said Browns. You said Browns first, and then you said Crybaby, and it was just like boop. There we go.
Had to get enough criteria in there for to trip the logarithm there. No, man. Johnny Manziel, man, is a guy that he could really make some plays with his feet. He was one of those guys that was impossible to tackle. The guy was just incredible. I didn't like him as a person, but as a quarterback, man, he was really good.
Well, he falls in that category of just a great college quarterback, right? The guys that you see that come out of college that like just can't do anything in the pros because they were just kind of a system quarterback. They throw it if they could and then took off running if they couldn't. And
you mean like kind of like Aaron Murray?
I don't know if he was ahead of his time because that seems to be where the NFL's going now. And maybe if he hit the NFL, today he would have done better. But I think his problem more so was a character issue, not much of a talent issue.
Speaking of character issues, we're going to change gears here real quick. Deandre Baker charges dropped. Have you had a chance to look into this? Robbery charges against former Giant Deandre Baker dropped as lawyer arrested. You heard that right. The lawyer who was representing the other three people apparently tried to extort Deandre Baker and was subsequently arrested. The case fell apart on Monday when a lawyer in Florida was arrested for attempting to extort money from Deandre Baker on behalf of some of the alleged victims. William Dean wanted Baker to pay more than $250,000 to each of his clients. In return, they would, according to police, do anything you want as long as the money is right. Baker had earned $6 million in his first year in the NFL. So, yeah, that. What's up, BLSD? Appreciate the opinion, sir. I'll take it into consideration. So, yeah, apparently robbery is no longer a problem. Please don't misunderstand. I absolutely believe Deandre Baker was part of this. I believe Deandre Baker was involved in this nonsense. I believe he was properly arrested for it. But due to the greed of everybody involved, they couldn't make it right.
Yeah.
Let's see. The attorney, the charges were dropped on their behalf in exchange for altered testimony. They were selling testimony. That's terrible. Terrible. So do you think they'll you think he'll get a new contract in the NFL now?
I don't know, man. I hadn't really kept up with this story, to be honest with you.
He's a free man and he's a free agent. I mean, didn't Michael Vick get a second chance?
Yeah, I mean, somebody will probably. I mean, the Patriots probably sign him.
Yeah, I think somebody will pick him up. You guys got some talent.
Yeah.
All right, one more thing here, and then we'll try to run through some schedules real quick. Who would you pick to be the replacement for Will Muschamp?
I think Hugh Freeze jumps to mind. That's the immediate name that I think of.
I think that there is an equally good chance between Hugh Freeze. You're probably going to scratch your head when I say this, but maybe, just maybe, Coach John Doc Holliday, who's the head coach at Marshall University.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting whoever they hire there. I mean, I don't know. I think what's even going to be more interesting is what happens to Muschamp and Bobo.
Well, Bobo's running it for the rest of the season, but
Yeah.
do you think Bobo comes back to Georgia?
Now, there's been some talk about. They talked about it on the radio up here. Would there be any talks of Bobo coming as OC or maybe even Muschamp as DC? Because when Kirby, if you look back or if you go back to when Kirby was, when there was the rumor that Kirby was going to come to Georgia a few years before it actually happened.
Right.
When all the Fire Rick stuff started, and there was the talk about Muschamp possibly coming over with him as defensive coordinator.
Right.
So I don't know if there's going to be anything to that, or if Muschamp would be interested in going back into a coordinator role. If a lot of times you see those guys not want to do that, but I don't know.
It'd probably be good for him to. Thanks, Sarah. I really appreciate it. They said Kirby Dome says Hugh Freeze signed a 5-year extension with Liberty.
Yeah,
I'm sure I can guarantee he would break that in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I'm sure South Carolina could afford that contract. I don't know how much
I'm sure they could.
him, but
Because I don't think they have anybody to buy out except Muschamp right now. And his buyout, while it is $10 million, I hate to say it this way, but in the coaching world in the SEC, it's only $10 million.
Yeah, Alex, I don't see that happening either. Dan Lanning's been great. Our defense, I don't see us doing that at all. I agree. That's what I'm saying. There was talks about that, about bringing them here. I don't see either one of them coming to Georgia. We all remember back in the Bobo days, there was the Fire Bobo as well.
Oh God. It seems like coaches.
The Georgia team under Bobo, though, was averaging 35 to 40 points a game, though.
That is correct. Yeah. We ain't averaging that right now.
Everybody just got tired of seeing the screen pass every other play.
Well, we may have seen a lot of screen passes, but at least we saw points.
That's right.
Rob F says South Carolina might go with an NFL guy. They might.
Yeah, they may. I think it's gonna be somebody that nobody even sees coming.
Yeah. Jackson Bates says at BDB, do you think DeJuan gets more playing time? He could really be. If he gets more playing time, could he be really good? I think he could. I really think he could. Yeah. But I don't. Again, it's one of those things where it takes time to develop a guy. It really does. I mean, I don't care how many times you see a true freshman walk out there and just light up the stage. That's not normal. It's just not. It's not normal to see a true freshman step up and take over a team and run it for 5 years. That really doesn't happen. What you typically see is a guy like Joe Burrow, who plays for Ohio State for a little while, and he kind of looks okay, and then he develops himself a little further, and he's still the backup, and he develops himself a little further, and he transfers to another school, and all of a sudden he gets a shot, and then it just takes off like a spark. Same exact story with Kyle Trask. Kyle Trask was a backup for Felipe Franks, and he played, and he was okay, and then he looked bad some games. I mean, even the University of Florida fans were calling him Kyle Trash. That's what they were calling him. That's their quarterback. And then Felipe Franks, and he wins the job from Felipe Franks, gets injured, goes back out. Kyle Trask gets injured, goes out. Felipe Franks comes back in, and then he has to win the job all over again. Then he wins the job again, and Felipe Franks transfers away, and now he's playing like a rock star. That's not really normal either. What you'll end up seeing is that you'll have a quarterback who kind of develops over time, and his third or fourth year out of college, he's good. Then he plays, and then he runs the show in his junior and sometimes senior year. But what Keith was saying earlier is that you often have these new quarterbacks, these new young quarterbacks, they want to go in and play their freshman year. And sometimes they're not ready. I think DeJuan Mathis got tossed in because we didn't have anybody else. We had to put somebody in because They were hitting grand slams off of Stetson Bennett. So
yeah, I think on that, about Dwan Mathis. I mean, this kid has plenty of time left at Georgia or wherever it is that he wants to go. I know there was a rumor a couple weeks back about him entering transfer portal. Apparently that wasn't true. Wouldn't be surprised to see it. But I think Georgia has moved on from Stetson Bennett at this point. I mean, this is kind of like the whole the thing back in high school when I played baseball. If you're a senior and you don't start, you don't make the team. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
It's time that Stetson is. I think Stetson is going to be relegated to the backup guy, and I think if JT starts this Saturday, if there's any mop-up time, I think that time is going to go to Dwan Mathis exclusively. I don't think we see Bennett outside of an injury again at Georgia.
I think it's certainly possible that we see some Carson Beck, though. I don't want to exclude him just yet. Let me go through the chat here real quick. Let me get caught up. Okay, well, I was going to catch up on Super Chats, but we don't have any, so I will just go through regular chats. Colin B says, I respect Big Dog so much. I mean this. I watch his feeds every weekend, and I root for them genuinely unless they are in the money. Go Bucks. Thanks, sir. Appreciate that. Rob F says, my bet is with Beck or Vandergriff is the starter for 2021. We'll see what happens. Dwan has a good throwing arm. He does. Sometimes he puts too much on it, though. I think people are giving up on Dwan too early.
I definitely have not given up on him.
I haven't given up on him.
No,
I just think he needs to develop.
Yeah, like I said, I think, I hope and I plan to see Dwan in mop-up duty after JT goes in and we get ahead of some of these games that we have left. We should, in these final games that we have left, we should have, hopefully, we should have times where, at the end of the game where we're ahead quite a bit and we see somebody else come in. And I think that's going to be Mathis. And I do think we have not seen what this kid can do yet. I completely agree. There's no way we have, we just haven't. He hasn't had an opportunity to develop. So yeah, I'm kind of excited to see what he's got and what he can do, for sure.
There's a lot of things I like about Dwan. Number one, the guy's like 6'6", like he's really tall. And I like that in a quarterback. I like a quarterback that can flat foot look over the offensive line, right? Because we got monsters on the offensive line. I like a guy that can stand tall in the pocket. He's got a big arm. He does need to put on a little muscle, and that will come with time. But I also like that he is extremely agile. Like the guy can pick up a first down in like 3 steps. Reminds me of Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence doesn't look like he's running as fast as he's running, but dude is cruising. Same thing with Dwan Mathis. Zephyroth says, I just don't see how we have all this QB talent and it's not being used right. I've kind of covered this 100 times, but Georgia was just having to deal with what it had available. And sometimes things just don't play out right. Getting a new offensive coordinator, making adjustments to get the offense better, not having a quarterback stick around as a grad transfer that you had kind of invested all your marbles in. There's a lot. Ian Book looks better than Trask, low key. There's times when he does, and there's times when he don't. Yes, sir. All right. So coming up this Saturday.
Yeah. Hey, Brett, I got to drop off, dude. I got a situation upstairs.
That's all good, man. I appreciate you joining the show, man. Have a good night.
Guys. Hey, I appreciate it. We'll see you guys next time.
Yep. Later, brother. All right. We always enjoy having him on the show. Very knowledgeable guy. I like the way he approaches subject matter. Okay. So let's jump into the schedule here real quick. There's some Friday games. If you care to have Friday games, there's actually Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday games if you care to watch them. Not really going to jump into any of these until Saturday, and we're going to talk about some of these teams here. I'm not going to talk about all of them. Probably the starting off in the show, Dewan strides are about 5 yards. They are, sir. That rascal's got a big stride. Ohio State versus Indiana comes on at 12. A lot of people are asking me about this game. Indiana has looked really good. This will clearly be the best team Ohio State has played. Just due to the way the schedule has played out, they haven't played very many games, so I don't know what could happen here. This could come down to the wire, or Ohio State could blow them out. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But for now, I've seen so many upsets this season. I'm just gonna go with Indiana just because of that. Then we've got Florida at Vanderbilt. Don't make me answer that question. I've got Clemson at Florida State. Also, don't make me answer that question. And then we'll go down to one of the other games I really want to watch as far as a noon game goes is going to be Arkansas versus LSU. I would love to see Arkansas beat LSU. They would really have something in their pocket that they could say, hey, we beat last year's national champs. Well, everybody else has too. So, but you're right. You did. Ace Dog says, I think what hurts most was Fromm leaving early, and I think we have shined. I think he would have shined under Munkin. That is certainly a possibility, sir. Certainly a possibility. BYU versus North Alabama. I'm not going to answer that question. Cincinnati versus UCF. Pick Cincinnati. Number 10, Wisconsin versus Northwestern. If Wisconsin plays like they played against Michigan, I'll take Wisconsin every day. Texas versus Kansas. I think the Jayhawks are actually only had one win this season. Let me pull that up. They have looked terrible. No, I stand corrected. They have lost every game. It looks like they have lost every game by double digits, if not more. Texas wins that game easily. I don't even know what the spread is on that, but I would take Texas. Alabama at 4:00 versus Kentucky. Don't make me answer that. Iowa versus Penn State. Taking Iowa. Penn State is terrible. Let's see what else we got here. Number 23, Auburn versus Tennessee. I'm actually going to pick Tennessee in this game. I think that Auburn does not need to be ranked 23. I think they barely squeak in only because of how bad the schedules have been. I think Tennessee is a better football team. I'm taking Tennessee. Number 13, Georgia versus Mississippi State. This is going to be an interesting game. Georgia's still trying to figure out its quarterback situation. No clue how they will do until we actually see them play. However, the only two games that Mississippi State has won this year has been against LSU, where they managed to put 44 points on the board against LSU, and then they beat Vanderbilt by a touchdown, 24-17. They got blown out by Alabama, 41-0. They lost to Texas A&M by 14 points. They lost to Kentucky by 22 points. The only points they scored was a safety. Their offense didn't score any points. And, of course, they lost to Arkansas 21-14. So I'm going to pick Georgia, but I don't know. I don't know what the score is going to end up being. Oklahoma State versus Oklahoma. This is going to be one of the more rivalry-ish type games of the night. Oklahoma State has looked really good. Oklahoma seems to be what's the best way I can explain this? Where's my water? I think Oklahoma started out the season kind of in a bad spot, but they seem to have righted the ship. They seem to have kind of got things turned around. Their last two games, both games, they've scored 62 points. Granted, they were playing KU and Texas Tech, but their offense has been looking really good. If you want to compare that to Oklahoma State, listen, this is a big game for Oklahoma State. This is a big game for Oklahoma. I don't see Oklahoma State winning this game. They have moments where they really struggle on offense just to put points on the board. I think the Oklahoma offense is going to be too much for Oklahoma State. I'm taking the Sooners. Number 21, Liberty over North Carolina State. I'm going to go with Liberty. I'm going to pick the South Carolina-Missouri game just because it's an SEC game. I'm going to go with South Carolina over Missouri. Where's the other SEC games? Was there anything left, or did I cover them all? Maybe I missed one. Illinois at Nebraska. I'm taking Illinois. Sorry, Husker Gray. I just don't see it, buddy. You guys are actually pretty terrible. And Michigan State at Maryland. I'm taking Maryland. I've been a fan of the Maryland Terrapins. Just in recent history, those guys seem to just, I don't know, they just strike me as a fun team to watch. So I'm taking the Terrapins over get that out of here. I'm taking the Terrapins over Michigan State. And I like to pull for Michigan State. I like the Sparties, but they have been just terrible this year. Terrible is an understatement. They have been horrid. That's also an understatement. They have been just, pretty much unwatchable. The only game that they had that looked good was whenever they played against Michigan, that we now know how bad Michigan is. They got whooped on 49-7 against Iowa, and then of course the 24-0 loss to Indiana, excuse me. Auburn finds a way, luckiest team in football. Well, apparently if you call the refs helping you lucky, then yeah, you're lucky, but I'm gonna say the refs was helping. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, we're running on about an hour and a half. Getting close to that 10 o'clock marker. Really appreciate you guys being on here. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's been a great night. You guys are awesome. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and share. It really helps the channel. There's also a members button over here somewhere. You can hit that too if you want to become a member. Get behind the scenes footage, and that is getting better. We have merchandise now over at Teespring. It's Teespring, Big Dog Brett. You'll have to look me up over there. I think I have a link in the description that I'll post later. So if you guys want to go check that out, go get you some merch. I guess that's what they call it these days, is merch. They used to call it swag. I don't know what else they call it before that. Get you some stuffs if you want it. All right, guys. Really appreciate you guys. Have a great day. God bless. Go Dogs.